Have you ever made an awesome plan and then it just totally backfired on you? Well, it's happened to me, and I bet it's happened to you. And it's nothing to be embarrassed about, especially when you compare it to some of the major backfires I'm about to share with you right now. In the early 20th century in Delhi, India, the town realized there was a major problem with wild cobras on the loose. People were dying, livestock were dying, pets were dying, and the government realized they had to do something about it. So they came up with a great plan, or so they thought. The plan was pretty simple. Let's pay the local townspeople to kill the wild cobras and bring them to us. We'll give them a reward every time they do it. Now the plan, at least initially, worked great, and the number of wild cobras dropped to the lowest level they had in years. But that's when things got really interesting. See, a whole bunch of industrious townspeople decided that they liked receiving a reward for bringing in cobras, so they came up with a plan of their own. They set up little cobra farms on the outskirts of town where they raised cobras, killed cobras, and brought them into the local government to cash in on that bounty. Well, understandably, the government was none too happy about this. So when they heard this, they immediately canceled the program and canceled any further rewards. And guess what happened next? Those industrious townspeople who had set up their cobra farms said, well, there's no money in this anymore. I'm gonna let these things go. And now the town of Delhi had more wild cobras than it ever had before the program was implemented. Talk about a major backfire. This is an example of what economists call perverse incentives, where the incentives set up actually end up making the problem they're intended to solve worse than it ever was before. And because this example with the cobras is such a good example of perverse incentives, economists often call the whole thing the Cobra Effect. But it's not like this was isolated to this one time in Delhi, India. In Mexico City, the government tried to keep air pollution down by limiting the number of cars that were available to go on the road, and what happened was higher pollution cars ended up on the road as a result. In Vietnam, there was a huge problem with wild rats, so the government paid a bounty for people to go kill the rats, and guess what happened? People farmed rats, and then there ended up being more rats than there were ever before. And even as recently as 2007 in Georgia in the United States, there was a problem with feral hogs, and the same thing happened once again. You put a bounty on the hogs, people realized they could farm the hogs and cash them in for that bounty. So always beware the unintended consequences of your actions. That's Fun Fact Friday. Tune in next week for more fun facts. We'll see you next week.